Hey, good morning, everybody. So, my husband actually reminded me that today was our anniversary because I can be very, very one-track, single-track minded and be all very taken up by my cause. So, yes, today is our anniversary. 8 years. 8 years of pure bliss. No, but it's awesome. 8 years and we're going strong and I couldn't be happier. So on that note, you know, I had dreams last night. That I was, because I did the landmark education form a long time ago, like back in the 90s, and then did some refresher courses back in the 2000s. So that was one of the biggest things that changed my life. Hey, Kathy. Hey, Tiffany. Hey, everybody. So that was one of the biggest things that changed my life was landmark education, because it really took me on a different track. I was headed down one road and then it kind of upset the homeostasis, and then I went down a different road. And thank God I did, because who knows where I would be if I went down that other road prior to landmark. And so one of the biggest dreams I had was to be like a landmark education speaker or forum leader. So anyways, I don't think that's going to happen. That it could, who knows, but I'm not actively pursuing that. But I had a dream last night that I was preparing for a landmark education speech, and everybody was trying to get in the way and distract me. But I was like, I got to do the speech, because the speech was supposed to be, or the speech that my dream was having me do, was to speak about how it is I came to understand landmark and what it has done for me and all this stuff, which is really translatable to what's going on in my world, how I started Jilly Juice and what it's done for me. Okay, so there are things in your dreams, events that you have gone through, that are symbols of what you are dealing with today. Okay, so your dreams are not only like a rewind from the past, but they're also symbolic to current events and then what is going on in your biochemistry. So yesterday was pretty huge, and lately I have been hounding the anti-vax campaigns. I have been really hounding being a pro-vax on bodies that are weak, especially not doing J-juice. And the reasoning is because, yes, we are heading into a tipping point, okay? And it's not that I'm repeating the sensationalization of the media, though, yes, there was an article that NBC put out there that anti-vaxxers are now targeting parents who have children that are dead, that say, and to blame the medical community, and turning them into crusaders. That's huge. That is huge, okay? Because what's going to happen is now we're going to turn people who are so grief-stricken now going to then manifest their pain through blame. And what do you say to a mother who just lost her child? And you say, I'm sorry, and then they're trying to figure out why. They're saying, okay, it's God, it's this, and then somebody comes in and says, hey, no, it's the vaccines, it's this, it's that, and all this stuff. And so yes, all this cancer, disease, and chronic illness, the viruses that have been in our society, have been around for centuries. We're reaching a tipping point because weak people are coming down with major cancer, disease, and chronic illness, and they are not strengthening their bodies. They're pushing the vaccine campaign because they have to, because there's weak bodies out there, but people are going to perish regardless because they have weak bodies. And so yesterday I was responding to the whole Greta Thunberg. And I didn't know that she actually is on the spectrum. I did not know that she had Asperger's or has Asperger's. Though I can kind of see a little bit now, because she's very intense. And at this point, with all of the viruses on weak bodies, because we have figured out that every generation, when they keep reproducing on traumatized bodies, the children come out more and more full of issues. Okay, that's why you're seeing the rise of autism. That's why you're seeing the rise of all the different childhood cancers, because the parents have not fixed the weaknesses from generations ago. and they are now procreating on bodies that are highly, highly pathogenic. And then it translates into the child and then also into the behaviors of the child. And so now we have high functioning autistic people who may seem who have extreme views. And we're seeing that manifest all over the internet. And so when I wrote that post today, going like, oh my God, the radicalization of using people with Asperger's to push an agenda, that's exploiting somebody that has a weakness I mean, I don't even know how you would, like, it's exploiting, child endangerment. I mean, there are so many things that I could say. However, this girl has a message that can fit in every single activist's hue and cry about society. And I also will have the same message. I mean, we all can take these girls' words right out of her mouth and apply it to all of our stuff. And this is the message she's sending. People are suffering. People are dying. Entire ecosystems are collapsing. We are in the beginning of a mass extinction. And all you can tell me is, and all you can tell or talk about is money and fairy tales of eternal economic growth. How dare you? She's not wrong, but it's not about the external ecosystem. But she's not wrong. Okay? All the anti-vaxxers have the same message. People are dying. All the pro-vaxxers have the same message. People are dying. Entire ecosystems are collapsing. The anti-GMO crowd has the same message. The pro-GMO crowd has the same message. The anti-chemtrails crowd has the same message. The anti-5G crowd has the same message. The anti-war crowd has the same message. The allopathic and the holistic message or medicine has the same message. Okay? So why do you think there's a common theme? Why do you think there's a common theme? Because everyone that is worried about all these different things has an imbalance in their body that's being projected out and laying blame on anything that they think is a direct correlation to their cancer, disease, and chronic illness. Okay? And in order to get the spirit and the mind aligned with the changing universe, the body has to be dealt with first and foremost. There's no freaking way you can change someone's spirit, you can change a mind of anybody, unless they are willing to fix the weaknesses in their body. And the climate activists have weaknesses, generational weaknesses. And Greta Thunberg is an example of a generational weakness that manifests in Asperger's. There's nothing wrong with Asperger's or autism. People are functioning and they can have a relatively quality life. However, there's something going on where they're going to be exploited to do something like this, to then project the chaos that's inside. And what is their solution? To impose and try to make wrong those that they think caused all of this death and destruction in their world. But remember, they're seeing the lens of their own weaknesses. When they say it's the earth, no, it's their own body. When anti-vaxxers are talking about how the pro-vaxxers are killing them, no, it's their own bodies that are in decay. They haven't figured out how to fix the weaknesses. Greta Thunberg is projecting all of her issues, and she's representative of every single activist, no matter who it is, that's out there, completely just devastated, not knowing how to deal with the out of control body. Okay? And so I feel bad for this chick, because just watching that one, I couldn't even just watch the whole thing of her message, because it was so acidic and so angry and so hate-filled. There is no way any kind of solution can come from that. But then you see the kindred spirits gravitating towards her message because they're just out of control as she is. Okay? And so here's the thing, the future is right now. We're seeing now what our future is. We're going to have a lot of people with so many emotional imbalances trying to solve the problems of the universe, and they can't even negotiate the problems in their own body. There's no way. And so this is why I'm saying, you guys keep doing the J juice. So now what I'm doing is I'm now hounding the anti-vax people, because here's the thing. If you're not going to strengthen your body in a way to where you can handle the environment, there will be more children, more babies dying from, preventable diseases. But even then, these viruses are only going to get stronger. Okay? The viruses haven't left from the 13th century, from the bubonic plague. They have just gotten stronger and more diverse because we have more people and we have animals, and the earth is going through its fluctuations like it always has. We have the ability to adapt only if we're taking in the right elements. But if you are not taking in the right elements, you're going to have trouble adapting, and then you're going to go out with a bang. And so I am very concerned with the future, because people are accepting the fact that they are going to have children with major issues, and then try to capitalize on the things that are acceptable in our society, like activism and being smart and going to a class and getting a degree, and then being, and then not be able to handle somebody saying no, somebody saying, hey, maybe we shouldn't go this way, or somebody challenging their point of view, and they go off the deep end because they're that emotionally imbalanced. One thing to be conceptually, intellectually smart. It's another thing not to be able to handle different types of responses to your ideas. And we have a lot of kids that are being turned out right now that have no accountability for their actions. And then the system doesn't know what to do, so they have to turn to the most draconian means, like handcuffing a child, putting fingerprints, showing them this is your future if you don't get hold of your emotions. But when you have a child that is living in poverty, not getting the right nutrients, there is no method out there that's going to be able to get through to that kid until they change their biochemistry. And so, so now, I got to switch up my message and say, yes, get your vaccines. And I have all these anti-vaxxers now flocking to my page, trying to poke holes in all of my stuff. But you don't see them talking about the J juice. They're more about the fear campaigns, because you can do the vaccines as well as do J juice and double strengthen your body, especially if there are aggressive viruses out there. And no matter what, see, the J juice protocol has everything a vaccine has. It has trace minerals, it has cell tissues, and it has bacteria. Okay? So the J juice protocol is no different than a vaccine. And then you have to then deal with the upset of homeostasis, the body adapting to a new environment. So then the one person's like, oh, but do you inject it? Doesn't matter. Inject it or ingest it, you're still getting the minerals, the bacteria, the cell tissues. Because obviously if it was deadly, we'd all be dead, but it's not. Okay? When you look at the inserts in these vaccines, if you're exposed to these viruses without some layer of protection, you're going to contract every single one of those diseases that's in the insert. Okay? Because those inserts are representative of what a person would be experiencing in the environment on a weak body. Okay? So you're going to have to figure that out. You're going to have to deal with that, people. And so, yes. So, yeah, I'm getting laughed at by all the anti-vaxxers, but they're just sitting ducks. They don't realize to what extent how dire the messages of the universe are getting. And they're going to put themselves and their children at risk. They are. And that's unfortunate. But that is the... Bye, Jet Garvin. Bye. Who else can I take off here? Yeah. So, you know, it's unfortunate that we have that many ignorant people, but we do because people have not been taught to put the right elements in their body. They've been taught the allopathic holistic method to take herbs and detoxes and supplements on a body that has malabsorption and try to fight it that way, avoiding the pain. So the anti-vax and the pro-vax and the medical holistic community all have a hand in the degradation of your body, but so do you. But also too, they can't help what goes on in the universe. All they're doing is reacting to the environment, no different than what you're doing, reacting to the environment. They're not taught to be proactive because that's not part of the AMA. The AMA is not about proactivity. They call, yeah, vaccines proactivity, but that's just reactive to whatever aggressive virus. So yeah, now we have an Ebola virus or an EE virus, an encephalitis virus, all these different viruses. And so now we have to create a vaccine and then now inject everyone before it gets to our soil, instead of saying, hey, let's teach a program on how to deal with pain, to heal from the past, present, and future triggers, strengthen the body so we're not bearing children with weaknesses who can't handle the environment. And then when an Ebola virus or an encephalitis virus or any kind of virus or a flu virus comes around, we're not going to worry too much. If you have a child that is already exhibiting weaknesses, then yes, go get a vaccine, because yes, we have kids and the elderly who, if they have obviously a weak system, will not be able to handle the environment full of viruses, especially new ones in the environment. But the fact that we have babies and the fact that we have elderly says that we have weaknesses. Okay? Just those two types of people in our society speaks to the need for the vaccines, because obviously they have malabsorption. Their immune system is pretty much either developing, so not really reinforced, so they're open for everything, and they have a weak body. And then the elderly are weak and decaying, and their immune system is shot. And so they have to live in a bubble or get a vaccine, and they're going to have to roll the dice, because the vaccine inserts are exactly what people are going to contract if they, no matter what, if they have a weak body. So you take two people, you put one in the Amazon around that virus where it originated from, away from modern medicine, and then you take a vaccine with the same virus with minerals in it and cell tissue, and you inject a weak person. Both people who are weak will come down with the same disease or a combination of the same diseases relative to their biochemistry. Because even biochemistries can be offshoots of the same disease into something different. Because remember, the bodies mutate all these viruses into more exotic issues. So that's why you're seeing offshoots of the same, you know, you have so many viruses and so many diseases that have the same symptoms, because similar systems are getting affected, or the same systems in different conglomerations are getting affected. So yeah, so Greta Thunberg, your body is imbalanced. The fact that you have Asperger's says there's an imbalance somewhere, because Asperger's was not prevalent 30 or 40 or 50 or 100 years ago. Okay, but the fact that Asperger's is prevalent now speaks to the generational weaknesses passed down from mother to child, people procreating on bodies that are highly traumatized. You got to fix you first, because what happens is when you have a child like Greta, who is that imbalanced enough to project all of her chaos inside, she will then turn into an adult who will then bully people. See right there, she's a victim, as she claims to be a victim of the system. But right now she's turning into a bully. She's going to grow up into a bully that's going to then go and try to impose a thought process. That's what I'm saying. Victims and bullies are interchangeable because it's two sides of the same coin, extreme sides. Victims turn into bullies, and bullies also turn into victims because they have not found a middle ground, and they become so like staunch and so convicted in their belief system, and they can't help but push it on people. And so the vaccine injured people who are once victims, from their perspective, will turn into a bully. I already see it. Okay, and then these crusaders, the NBC is talking about, taking these victims of children that have passed away, and then these anti-vaxxers are trying to now say that it was the vaccines, when really it's the child that is very, very weak, couldn't handle the environment regardless. SIDS actually probably is not the vaccines, but the fact that the child couldn't handle the environment regardless. Not the vaccines, but it's the environment. It's just it's the viruses in the environment and the weak body. And so now you take all these said victims, they're going to turn into the next generation of bullies, blaming the previous generation's methodologies of dealing with cancer, disease, and chronic illness. And it becomes an infinite loop until one day a huge virus will come and take over the planet and decimate everyone that is weak. Okay? So she's not wrong. People are suffering. Yes, they are. Look at all the activists. People are dying. Oh, yes, they are. Look around you. Dropping like flies from 44, 50, 60, 70. A baby. Entire ecosystems are collapsing. Yes, when somebody dies, that's an entire ecosystem collapsing. We are in the beginning of a mass extinction. Yeah, because Mother Nature is taking back what man has tried to manipulate and control. Okay, so even though man's good intentions of trying to prolong life by doing the vaccines, which yes, people have been able to survive the vaccines and work with their weaknesses, their handicaps, but man has then gone in and yes, prolonged the life, but prolonged also the glitching. If we were that weak 50 years ago, based upon our knowledge of the food supply and how we negotiate the elements, if we were weak despite the fact that we were eating food, then we should have died. I probably should have died in Vietnam, but I got picked up by a bunch of nurses who wanted to get all the babies out of Vietnam and give them a better life. I got lucky, but if it was left up to Mother Nature, I should have died if we didn't have modern medicine or America. Okay? So it was a crapshoot on me. It was a crapshoot on all of the refugees that came from Vietnam. Some turned out wonderful. Others are having a hard time trying to assimilate to a new society despite all the different weaknesses. So, so Mother Nature does keep the balance. And so, yes, when a body is on a death trajectory, it's going to want to reproduce. And if you haven't resolved the issues to cause you to want to reproduce to begin with, then guess what? Every single generation is going to have more of a, I would say, the issues are going to be compounded and compounded. And then it's becomes a tipping point, and then you have the same people with the same biochemistries banding together. It becomes rather scary. And then you feel the acid dripping off the comments. I feel the acid dripping off of some of these comments. It's pretty scary out there. So, I mean, but I have a duty, since I have this damn protocol that I couldn't keep to myself, because I want to give everybody a chance to face the pain and to heal, and then take themselves out of this war that doesn't exist except in here. I'm willing to risk life and limb Because anytime any society goes through a change, whether it's climate change or a change in a business process, there's going to be people who are going to revolt against the change. Even if they know they need it, they're still going to revolt against it. They're going to call people crazy. They're going to be like, no, that's always been done this way. And no, you can't say that. That's against the law or against whatever. And it's yeah, change is not fun. I mean, I get adverse to change to my own schedule. Imagine when you tell somebody, yeah, you can regrow limbs, you can regrow organs, you can live indefinitely, and they're like, holy crap. So if I have a change in my schedule and I'm like, oh God, I'm trying to get used to this change in schedule or something, imagine what millions and millions of people are thinking when they've been told for such a long time that cancer is non-reversible. And they have families and generations of people dying that could have lived. That's a hard thing to introduce to a society that's lived with that much devastation, PTSD. So it's not easy being the one to kind of say, hey, okay, maybe we didn't have to die. Maybe we need to get our bodies all balanced. Maybe we need to harness these elements. Maybe we need to face the pain. Maybe, you know, and oh my God, it's like you speak blasphemy that you talk about life. And I'm not even coming from the Christian pro-life standpoint. I'm coming from the fact that bodies don't have to die if you give the right elements. And yeah, you have to face the pain. You know, that maybe doing drugs, whether it's cannabis or painkillers, maybe it's not the answer. Because I'm around 5G. I have a smart meter. I live under the same skies as all of you that are afraid of chemtrails. I received my vaccines, even the military ones, and I got a double dose when I re-enlisted in the military. So I got 2 rounds of vaccines in a span of like 5 or 6 years from the military. Basic training, and then in my own unit, and then re-enlistment. And you know, the military is always experimented upon all the time with the newest vaccines because they're going into new territories. Though I did refuse the anthrax shot. Because I was just like, you know. But I also knew my body was very weak. But I also got out before. And that's, yeah, why I got out was because the anthrax shot. So they weren't going to make me mobile and go to a, you know, because, yeah, they were sending people in my unit to go and do a tour. And I'm like, and that was right before they froze the military. That's right before we declared war on Iraq. But yeah, I was a conscientious objector. And that's what had me leave the military. Because intuitively, I knew my body wasn't equipped to handle the anthrax shot. However, if anthrax ever came to our soil now, today, on J-Juice, yeah, I would get it. But back then, my body was weak. And I know kids don't have a voice nowadays, but when you think about it, there are so many viruses in families and in communities and kids are also weaker. So no matter what, the medical system is going to be rolling the dice no matter what. But would you rather wake up with a kid dead because they didn't get some kind of layer of protection, or would you rather at least risk them having a little bit of upset homeostasis to adapt to a new environment? And if you're weak anyways, babies are weak. They are weak no matter what. There is no strong baby out there. They're going to have some kind of reaction to any change in their internal environment based upon what is out there in their community and in families. Some families, yes, they have herpes. Some families have Hep A. When babies get kissed by the family members, and there's 5 or 6, and mothers are carrying around herpes, Hep A, HPV, you name it, they may not be symptomatic, maybe asymptomatic, but they will still pass on, and it also in the womb as well as still pass on. They have outbreaks, or, you know, who knows, family members from outside coming in and kissing the baby, and you don't know people's medical histories. You don't know what they've been exposed to. Are you going to have all of your extended family wear masks and robes and put everybody in a bubble No, the baby's going to have to adapt to the environment no matter what. They're going to have to. And so that's why we have, less infant or less infant deaths, because, yeah, there are relatively strong babies that can adapt to the environment, and they have a little bit of a leg up with some of the vaccines. Now, I remember being really, 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 really sick as a baby. As a kid, yeah. Because trying to adapt from Vietnam to America, it was difficult. Socially, medically, all of that. I remember having lots of stomach issues, lots of allergies, lots of a lot of things. But it's because I had a weak body. I was malnourished in Vietnam. No matter how much McDonald's or no matter how much protein my mom loaded in me, from the Gerber protein, high protein cereal and the rice cereal and the oatmeal stuff, I still had weaknesses, but the body was able to adapt to its surroundings and be relatively functioning, even though I was definitely a rebel child. I gave my mother a run for her money. I tell you that. I give her a lot of credit. So, but I still was able to adapt. I wanted to live so bad. And no, I knew I wasn't going to rise up to the level of expectation in that community, Silicon Valley. I wasn't going to be some Stanford grad. There was no way I had the attention span to go sit in school and do all of those, the classroom work. But I found a different way of educating myself in our society. Okay? And when someone is desperate to live, they will be very creative in their approach. And sometimes people will do things that are detrimental. And that's why you have the AMA and the CDC and the FDA and all of that come down on people who get really too creative. But I wasn't experimenting with anything like, drugs or anything, but I was finding different ways to educate myself, to get jobs, to stand out amongst other, candidates for positions, training myself and learning the computer system, working with temp agencies, because they would, they'd have computer programs that you would just keep taking the tests over and over again until you pass them all to then score higher to get then a better job. And then I learned the office environment and learned all these different things. And so I was able to, and then I also took the different classes to help get myself to the next level. So even though I didn't have all the skills like some people did when they were born with that, because they had a relatively, non-chaotic environment, I still found ways to rise up to somewhat level of expectation. And then being a pioneer with the internet, and back when AOL.com, and you're chatting with so many different people, and yes, doing the dating apps back when Yahoo Personals and Match.com, when everything was like a stigma, like, oh my God, you're meeting somebody on the internet. Oh my God. So different than going to a bar or going to a museum. It's just, you now have a menu of people, And so I've always been a pioneer in some way, just trying out the things that are new, that are kind of like, ooh, a little bit questionable in our society. But I wasn't like, a pioneer in everything, because then if you are like curious on everything, then yeah, curiosity can kill the cat too. So I was very, careful on what I was curious with, and what was like, okay, that's a little bit unsavory, not going down that road. So yeah, so doing this thing with this protocol and utilizing Google, which is a stigma. Oh my God, you're utilizing Google. You're not trained as being a doctor. You're not trained in this. You're not trained in that. Well, no. Back when I was doing Yahoo Personals, I wasn't concerned about my safety because it was still so new. Okay. But yet I had some really great relationships from that, and some pretty crazy people, yes, on there, but I, knew how to handle myself. And then I found my husband, who then gave me the latitude to do this. And now we're 8 years into this. So my pioneer days actually did me very well. Okay? So no, you don't have to be a degreed medical professional or be a specialist in some area to know how to read and put together information already substantiated by people who already have PhDs. If you can read, you can learn. If you can read, you can cook if you have opposable thumbs, or if you have ways ways to get access to stoves and mixers, and you have something, because not everybody has opposable thumbs. Some people have no hands and they can still cook with their stumps. Okay. So yeah. So no, I mean, I've always been a pioneer in this type of, and always getting flack, and people like just their jaws are dropping. Oh my God, you dated that guy off the internet. Oh my God, you did this. You went over across the US to go meet some dude you met on the internet for 6 months. But yeah, I vetted him out. So, I mean, taking a few risks isn't a bad thing. I mean, that's the whole point of America, is we took a risk to get away from the crown, from religious persecution. Okay, so I got away from academia, from them trying to construct my sentences in such a way to have a specific outcome. I still utilize academia, but I didn't follow them to the T. Because if I were to parrot every single academia as far as biotech, the outcome would still be the same. We would have people still dying and dealing with cancer disease and chronic illness. Now we're seeing people that are reversing their issues. But also too, now we're seeing people who have such weaknesses, who are so afraid of the J juice, and they're afraid of the vaccines. We're going to see an exponential of demise in our society, I guess. And I don't know. I mean, how you'd say it, there's going to be a tipping point. And so right now, if I can just kind of get the word out and say, okay, get your vaccines and do mass amounts of salty sauerkraut, drink lots of water. Okay, I'll say it that way. And then if they want to check out my page and say, oh yeah, that's the Jilly Juice crazy chick. Just like back then when I did the dating apps, oh, that's the crazy girl that goes and meets guys off the internet. Sometimes it does take a pioneer. I'm sure that Christopher Columbus, well, not Christopher Columbus, I'm sure all the pioneers, all of the people that had new ideas were ridiculed. They were told they were crazy. They were told that they had no sense. But then also too, Bozo the Clown was also laughed at. That's what Carl Sagan, there was a quote from Carl Sagan that, yes, titans of industry or, new inventors get laughed at, but so does Bozo the Clown. Okay? So, hey, if you think I'm Bozo the Clown, you want to laugh at me, fine. But those that understand chemistry and biochemistry, even just a little bit, can understand, and there are relationships to everything, and there are patterns that are obvious, they won't be laughing. But that comes from the internal universe of each specific person. So if you're that weak and you're that angry and that, I don't know. Yeah, weak, angry, and sick, you won't get where I'm coming from. So, oh, the emoticons, I'm not worried about them. And then Kevin saying, oh, thanks, Kevin. Kevin saying a major upheaval and spontaneous evolution is going on, all right. Yeah. Oh yeah, it is pretty crazy. It is pretty crazy. But, it's just more evidence. Because Greta is correct, though she's applying that her message to the wrong audience, but she's screaming inside. When you have that much chaos inside where it comes out in Asperger's, and then nobody is giving you the answer to keep you alive, because she knows her days are numbered, not so much because of the environment. She just knows that her condition is going to shorten her lifespan. And I can assure you she's not going to do the J juice. If she does, I would be surprised. But I'm sure those that are handling her are not going to allow her to heal. Because, yeah, she's being exploited by people who are trying to push an agenda. And no, it's not because of the New World Order. Because when I started highlighting or talking about, or disputing Greta Thunberg, all of my conspiracy theorists came out of the woodwork as if I was inviting them in to go say, oh yeah, let's go bash Greta. No, it's not that I'm trying to bash her and trying to then give credibility to the New World Order. No, both the conspiracy world and the activists have imbalances that they're projecting. Because remember, when you're for and against anything, it's two sides of the same coin. So even though, you know, I mean, I'm this for Julie juice, those are against it. Yeah, we are the same. The people that I deal with that don't like the J juice, we're no different. But the outcome is what's the difference. But I won't engage so much with someone who is completely anti-Jillian, okay? Because I'm not going to fall into that kindred spirit. That's not my people. I'm not into suicide. Okay. So I will drop seeds and I will get the hell out, and I won't engage with those that are meaning to destroy my body, mind, and spirit. And that's like anybody, you know, if somebody is speaking something that destroys your body, mind, and spirit perceived by you, then you walk away. There's no reason to entertain. But when you entertain someone that you don't agree with on a daily basis, then you have become just like them. So, you know, it's best to find those that, yes, agree with you. It's best to find those that speak your language. Find those that support you. Because that is your people, your crowd. That is your biochemistry. You are expanding the healthy cells in your world. Now, somebody who is opposite of me will say the same thing. Oh, yeah, get away from people like Jillian. Expand your healthy cells. But Mother Nature will always let you know whether or not your perception of what health is correct. Because healthy people do not die, do not age, do not degrade, do not contract cancer, disease, and chronic illness. So anybody can characterize who they are as healthy, but Mother Nature will always know the truth. So you just stick with your own people. Don't engage people that don't agree with you, because there's no point in you trying to convince somebody that absolutely, you know, so you just drop seeds and you get the hell out. You don't engage back and forth, because you're not going to be able to change someone's mind that's dead set on trying to change your mind. Okay. And then Kevin said, thank you so much again for not keeping the protocol for yourself. Your old mods, like your old mods wanted. Oh yeah. Kevin, I'm telling you, man, that those days was like, holy crap. Those days. So yeah, so the Dr. Phil, so here's the thing, Kevin, and you now figured it out. Dr. Phil was not a bad idea. Even though, yeah, they didn't represent me in a way that we would have liked, but they weren't going to. Because this is such a new idea that they don't want to get caught up in being boycotted or being under fire. There's no way Dr. Phil would have supported me in all this, especially at that time. Now, would Doctor take me on? No, because it would make him look stupid. But back then, yes. But it needed to get out there, regardless of how I looked. And so people that I was like, oh, she shouldn't have went on Dr. Phil, would have kept this to themselves, would have wanted to keep it only amongst their own people. And that's why I got away from certain people in my world that are very critical of how in which I roll this out, how in which I deal with naysayers. And yeah, I do draw boundaries. You know, and so being this support of the vaccines has definitely triggered some diehard anti-vaxxers that get caught up in my web yesterday, or those that are like anti-New World Order got caught up in my web yesterday thinking that I was inviting them because I was disputing the climate activists. No. See, that's what's wrong in our politics, is that because you support or because you are against a certain argument doesn't make you a Democrat or Republican. It just means that you don't support this specific argument. But it doesn't mean that a person is Democrat, Republican, or conspiracy theorist, or whatever. Okay? Some people can have an opinion or have an idea or have a thought on something without being pushed into a specific category. And so, yeah, so those that say, oh yeah, I'm doing JJ's, but I'm still stuck in the anti-vax, we're also stuck in the conspiracy world. No, you're not doing JJ's. Because if you're doing JJ's, you just leave it alone. No matter what my politics are, that you know my politics, you wouldn't be on here disputing. Yeah, you do it on your page, and I won't follow your page. I know some of you doing JJ's are still political. I know it. I mean, I'm not going to go and follow and police. I don't care. But as soon as you make yourself known on my page that you're still falling into those, nope, not going to happen. So whatever. But yeah, so Greta Thunberg is correct. She's just applying that message to the wrong people. She needs to look within and talk to the medical system. She needs to look within and talk to her parents. Though the medical system will not at all advocate inducing pain. Though everything in J Juice is everything that they support. They support cabbage, they support salt, electrolytes, they support trace minerals, they support the micro and macronutrition, they support lactic acid, probiotics, okay? But they don't support the pain aspect. Nope, they're not going to support saying that, yes, you have the potential to regrow limbs and organs, not being in a lab, but in your own home. But you got to go through the pain. They're not going to say that. And so it looks like Greta is gonna fall with the people who are exploiting her with their agendas. And that's unfortunate, but at least now you guys can see that there's a lot of people in pain. And it's translating into, yeah. So you're seeing that there is a problem. And all the different activists are sharing the same problem. They have weaknesses in their body that they have no control over because they have lack of knowledge. And they're falling for all of their emotional pulls and falling for all the emotional arguments that are out there that people make money off of. Climate engineering and climate, anti-climate, whatever it is, all of those different special interest groups make a shit ton of money off of people's reactions. So there is money to be made in the thought process that are out there. And there will be more people that have Asperger's or autism being exploited by the industry to get a point across. And to then garner support and money and potential presidential candidates. So yeah, just sit back, watch you guys do the J Juice. You don't need to take part in the activism. Just, unless you're strong enough as far as the J Juice. But you don't need to activize J Juice. You can drop seeds and then leave. But whenever you drop seeds, yes, people are going to come on. If you have an open page, people are going to come on your page and they're going to try to bully you. But I don't engage. I don't do anything like that. I just block, delete, spam, done. Either you get the message or you don't. Now you've been exposed to my information. There's nobody you can blame but yourself. And that's it. Okay? But if you're not strong enough to do that, then just do the J Juice and do your thing. Okay? Because, yeah, there's going to be people in our society that are going to be outliving their counterparts, outliving their competition, outliving a lot of people. And then they're going to be more strategic, more effective in their business process, in their companies, and making money. I mean, yeah. So not everyone's going to say they're doing J Juice, because sometimes that is a secret weapon for some people. And then they're going to be valedictorians. Then you have kids that are developing so quickly, because that's our society, where kids are learning so quickly through the computer, through the devices. And so they're accelerating very quickly as far as the learning process. Okay. And so, yeah, you'll see a 5-year-old that may have a college degree at some point. Okay. But then you see that if they're developing that quickly, they're going to be dying that quickly. You'd realize that. So if they're not doing J juice and they're developing that quickly, you know, you're in a world full of hurt down the road, especially when you look at the family medical history, because that will rear its ugly head at some point. And since the universe is accelerating and viruses, and the reason why the universe is accelerating is because we have more people on the planet mutating viruses. Viruses have always existed, but why they become stronger is because we have so many bodies mutating it, creating more strains. And then we have to create vaccines so we don't kill off and have a pandemic of the bubonic plague proportions. And then you have more different diseases. I mean, it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. So, yeah. So if there are parents out there that have dropped from autoimmune disorders and they have children and they're not doing the J juice, those autoimmune disorders are going to be coming lurking. And if you have put your kid through college and mortgaged the house, you haven't gotten their body well balanced, they're going to be seeing that autoimmune disorder come to surface in their 30s. And even being a vegan and vegetarian is not going to help them. If anything, a starving body will be more susceptible to a disease than a body that is probably overly fed. And maybe obese people are probably going to live longer for the most part. Not morbidly obese, but people who are relatively obese, okay, are going to live longer than those that are starving themselves because they're turning vegan and vegetarian on a body that has not fixed their issues. But either way, at some point, the obesity will put strain on the heart and the different parts of the body. So I don't know. There's so many factors that contribute to why people die early and why people contract all these different diseases. You know, and I know somebody, you know, that's living pretty long, relative, not really living. I mean, what is 75 is really not that long. But the skinnier you get, the less chance you have to survive a virus. And the more mineral depleted you become. So weight, a lot of ways. Obesity is also an insurance policy for those that haven't figured it out yet. Cancer, disease, and chronic illness is like an insurance policy for those that haven't figured it out yet. But at some point, there's going to be a tipping point. And that cancer and disease and chronic illness is not going to save you because the body is just too weak. So whatever. I don't know. Anyways, that's my message for the day. I'm telling you, these dreams are crazy. And they're right there at the surface too. It's just, yeah, the theme was so right on. I mean, it was landmark education, got to give a speech, and I keep getting distracted by people trying to mess with me, trying to stop me from getting my points across and doing a timeline and stuff. And they're like, no, do this, I mean, you know, yeah, that's exactly what I'm dealing with today is people are trying to, you know, the last like 3 years, I have so many different people trying to take away from my message with their own agenda. And I keep trying to cut the fat. And they keep trying to say, oh, do this. Oh, no, do that. Blah, blah. And I'm cutting the fat and I'm cutting the fat. That's exactly what my dream was today, that's what I've been going through the last 3 years. That a message I had to give out there and trying to hone in. And yes, I did compartmentalize and not deal with certain things until I had to. And then when I dealt with it, it was very condensed. When I dealt with the media back in April 1st, that was a major healing process. And then I find that I'm actually had kindred spirits with those in the media because they're just as activist as I was. And they still are. I'm sure I have a lot in common now with the lady from Pathos. Okay. And that's probably why I gave her a lot of my energy, was because her and I did have a lot in common. So I have a lot in common with Jeff Holiday too. But Jeff Holiday, he's aging and degrading, and he's not going to do the J juice. So, I mean, our commonalities will stop at some point. But we're both trying to get the word out, whatever that word is, trying to save humanity in some way, or I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt that he's trying to save humanity. So whatever. So, so back then I definitely had kindred spirits. And then finally I've exhausted this spirit with them, and I'm done with that. So such is life. The message is getting out as far as the jelly juice. And now it's, how do you read the messages in the universe, like from Greta Thunberg? She is a message from the universe. Forget her specific narrow point of view as far as the climate, but she is definitely screaming out of her generation that they are dying because nobody has put together a protocol that then allows a child to actually grow up without the fear of contracting a cancer, a disease, a chronic illness, obesity, or emotional instability. She is right on. So listen to the messages, do the J juice, deal with the pain, annotate your testimonies, and let me know so we can help other people see the possibility. Not saying that people are every single person is gonna have those testimonies, but at least, that there is a light at the end of the tunnel, because we're all the same, where nobody is different. All right, I'm gonna go do my thing. But yeah, you guys just do the J juice. Just do the J juice and listen to the messages of the universe. Even when they come out all messed up and focus on the wrong thing, Greta Thunberg is definitely letting y'all know how dire straits humanity is. All right. Okay, bye.